Hi everybody. So now we will be working on our next lesson, and that is the standard form of the line. So our goal for today will be to graph linear equations using their intercepts and also to write linear equations in standard form. So far we have already discussed two different ways on how you can write the equations of a line. You can use the slope-intercept form, or you can also use the point-slope form. And so this is the third way on how you can write an equation for the line. So how does the standard form look like? Your standard form of the linear equation looks like this. So a number x plus a number y is equal to another number, okay? So you will see that a, b, and c are any real numbers, and that it is important that a and b are not both zero. One of them could be zero, but not both of them equal to zero, okay? So what you can see here is that you will see that x and y are together on one side of the equation, and then the constant is on the other side of the equation. So that's how it would look like. And typically when you have your standard form, you always mention the x first, followed by the y. All right? So let's do some computations. All right? So the question here is, what are the x and the y-intercepts of the graph of 3x plus 4y equals 24? Now, first things first, what is the x-intercept and what is the y-intercept? Now, if you would remember, when we had the slope-intercept form, we already made mention of the y-intercept. So this is any point, this is the point to which the line crosses the y-axis, okay? So in this case, your y-intercept has an x value of 0, all right, since it is on the y-axis. So your x is 0 for your y-intercept. Now, same idea applies for your x-intercept. So the x-intercept, from the name itself, it's x, and it's intersecting the x-axis. So it is a point to where it's a point on the x-axis that is being intersected by your line. So if the point is located on the x-axis, then you know that your y value is 0. So based from that knowledge, we can build on that, and so we can find the corresponding x and y intercept of any linear equation, okay? So let's start with finding the x-intercept. Now remember, for the x-intercept, what is the key feature? The y is equal to 0, okay? So what we do is, the variable y, we will replace that by 0, and then we solve for the variable x. So this will be 3x plus 4, our y now is going to be 0, is equal to 24. And so you know that 4 times 0 is going to be 0. So we will end up having a 3x equals 24. And how do we solve for x? We divide by 3 on both sides, and x is going to be 8. All right? So the x-intercept, the x-intercept is going to be a point, and where is that point? The x value is 8, and the y value is 0. As simple as that, okay? So now, let's work with the y-intercept. So for us to know where the y-intercept is, what do we do? So we're solving for y, we make the other variable, which is x, equal to 0. So same scenario, but this time the x will now be replaced by a 0, and then we have 4y is equal to 24. And 3 times 0, that's going to be 0. So we end up with a 4y equals 24. Solving for y, we divide by 4 on both sides, and so y is equal to positive 6. Therefore, our y-intercept, sorry about that, okay, our y-intercept is going to be found at the x value is 0 and the y value is at 6, okay? So pretty much that's the process on how you can find your x and y intercepts given an equation in standard form. So for this example, I would like you to try this one and find the two intercepts from this equation. Go ahead. So if you followed our procedure from the previous example, you will end up getting the x-intercept at 12, 0, and our y-intercept will be at 0, -10. All right. So why is it important that we find your x and y intercepts? Remember, if you are graphing a line, you need 2 points. And if your equation is in the standard form, it's a lot easier to graph it if you can identify where the points are at on the x-axis, where the point will be at on the y-axis, okay? So you can use the x-intercept and the y-intercept to create a line and graph your equation, okay? So that is one of your possible options on how you can graph your line. So our equation is x minus 2y is equal to -2. So let's find our x-intercept and see where our point will be. So for our x-intercept, y will be 0, okay? So x minus 2 times y equals -2, and so this is 0, so there will be an x equals -2. So you know there's going to be a point at x equals -2. It's over here. Oops, sorry. There we go. Okay. For the y-intercept, so remember our x now will be 0. So x minus 2y is equal to -2. Okay. -2y is equal to -2. We divide by -2 on both sides. Y will be equal to +1. So you will have a point at y equals +1. You already have 2 points, and so you can already graph your line. As simple as that, okay? So let's try the next example. Do this one on your own. Use the intercepts to graph your line. Go ahead. So in this case, we have 2x plus 5y equals 20. Our points that we will use will be the x-intercept will be at 10. And another point, our y-intercept will be at 4. And so our line will be something like this. Okay? So how do you know when you can use the intercepts to graph your line if it is in the standard form? One tip, okay? You look at the coefficients of your x and y variables and see if both of them can divide the constant, okay? Can you divide 20 by 2? Yes, okay? Can you divide 20 by 5? Yes. So if both of the coefficients can divide our constant without any remainders, then you can use your intercepts to make your graphs and do it quick, okay? Now, in addition to this, we can also do our graphs on horizontal and vertical lines, okay? When do you graph a vertical line? When do you graph a horizontal line? So you have to identify, okay? For example, in this case, x is equal to 3. Where is that point? X is equal to 3. X equal to 3 is this point. So, how can you intersect this point? Well, if you draw your line horizontally, you are just drawing the x-axis. It's going to be useless. Does that make sense? And so you have a vertical line and it will pass through x equals 3. Okay? Next, y equals 3. So where is y equals 3? It's up here. Again, if you're going to draw a vertical line looking at it, it's on the y-axis. So that's not how you will be making this drawing. Okay? So you will be drawing a horizontal line and it's going to pass through y equals 3. Okay?